Okay, let's get started with discount Luke Smith. I'll be nice. This guy has 108 subs. Description, Pro Bono PD was right. Brodie's video, Nick's video, Nate Graham post, Pro Bono PD post, and Linus clip from DevComp 14. I believe that's the clip of Linus saying, don't break user space. Something along those lines. Anyway, let's check it out.
It's the 31st. Time for your monthly video.
Editing took 2 weeks. Fucking hell. I don't feel for that, man. I'm happy you got your video done, but man, fucking 2 weeks of editing is rough. So, let's have a look.
Ready for the Linux desktop? Or, to be more precise, I should ask, is the Linux desktop ready for Wayland?
Just as a side thing, I love this background. You've got like a bunch of... I wonder if his wall's broken or if he's just got like cardboard boxes there just for reasons. I want to imagine that his wall is broken. That makes it funnier in my head. Also, is that like a tea towel used as a covering for your camera? I love this setup. This is incredible.
We came across this video by Nick from the Linux Experiment discussing Nate Graham's response to the infamous Wayland Breaks Everything blog post written by...
Why are you... I know people complain about my light theme, right? But like, what? You're using a light theme on GitHub? Why? Just log in.
By Pro Bono PD. Pro Bono PD is one of the lead developers of AppImage and is well known for his anti-Wayland views. Nate Graham, on the other hand, is a KDE developer who has, presumably, put a lot of work into making KDE work on Wayland.
Fair enough.
So let's go through Brodie's video, because that's the one that I largely have a problem with. Look, I'm not going to go through and refute every single one of these points, because that would just be kind of tedious, but I'll touch on a few key points.
No, that'll be funny. Do it, please. Wayland breaks screen sharing applications. Once again, no. We have a solution nowadays. It is Portal and Pipewire. It is up to the applications to update to support this solution.
I'll get back to this
very correct. Yes.
Later.
As a stopgap, there is also Wayland Video Bridge that basically fakes a solution that fixes every application.
Yeah, I'm sure new Linux users will have no problem with installing some additional application in order to get things working.
It's actually not an additional application on KDE. It's actually part of KDE. Like, I believe Plasma 6 is shipping it, and it just runs transparently in the background.
Would have worked fine in the past. No problems with that whatsoever. That was sarcasm, by the way.
Wayland complicates server-side window decorations. Wrong. GNOME complicates server-side window decorations. Yep. Everybody else supports the protocol. Wayland breaks DRM. Wait, why did you show that part if there's any... Wait, is he gonna, like, refute what I said there? Oh, are we going over the GNOME... Okay, we're going over the GNOME things. No. GNOME breaks DRM leasing. Everybody else supports the protocol.
Deflecting the issue to GNOME does not address the point.
It's not deflecting the issue. This is not a deflecting the issue situation. This is a... Everybody else supports it. GNOME is here trying to, like, do their own thing. But let's see what he has to say.
Of Pro Bono PD's post. The fact that GNOME can break these things is inherently a Wayland problem. They work fine on GNOME on X11, so why not Wayland? Well, the answer...
They only worked fine because everybody was using this generic solution. When you let GNOME design their own graphic stack, they're going to break things. But even on the X11 side, there were things that broke because GNOME wanted to do their own thing. Like, this has always been the case. It's just now GNOME is able to be in this position where they actually can control everything, where they can really be this sort of basically macOS of the FOSS space.
The answer is that Wayland requires these additional implementations from these things, and if it's not implemented, then that's a regression. Plain and simple.
That's not what a regression is. A regression would be a feature you had that then gets removed. This is a feature you never had that was then never added. I guess you could maybe argue in, like, a abstract case, Wayland is a regression in some cases to X11, maybe, but I wouldn't call that a regression. I would call that as a shift in design principles. And also, just don't use GNOME. This is a problem with a very easy solution. Stop supporting GNOME if you don't like their design principles. Because everybody else supports DRM leasing. Everybody else supports... What was the other one? Fucking... I don't remember. What was the other... I don't remember the other thing that he brought up, or that I brought up. Server-side decorations. Yeah. Everybody else supports server-side decorations. Just stop supporting GNOME. It's as simple as that, actually.
Then that's a regression. Plain and simple.
And now we have a new project from Pro Bono. We do. That being Wayland X11 Compat Protocols. It's a mess of a name. The name is working and they're possibly going to change it. But this is a repo for the missing Wayland protocols for features that are available in X11. But it's okay, here's where we get to the core of it. Wayland protocols. This is a third-party protocol repo trying to address the gaps in Wayland.
Yeah, how dare this person try to fix the problem?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Oh my god. The reason why I'm saying I bring it up is because it's a third-party repo that doesn't have any implementation. The reason why Hyperland protocol changes make sense is because Hyperland has like a thing that they're actually implementing. And you can see the protocols in the real world. The reason why WL roots makes sense is because protocols are added to the WL roots list, and then they get implemented in WL roots. You didn't diss it, at least not yet. No, I didn't actually diss it yet. That's the thing. I just mentioned it exists. It is third party. It is separate from the main Wayland thing. So it's fairly unlikely that anyone is actually going to implement it.
They should just be complaining about it on the internet and earning ad revenue while doing so. That's clearly the more productive solution.
Isn't that what you're doing right? I guess you're not earning ad revenue, but isn't that what you're doing right now? Let's not throw stones in glass houses, man. We're both just complaining on the internet right now. Neither of us is actually doing anything productive. Let's leave that part out of it. Good luck getting rid of dbus, and pipewire and portals are the solution to so many problems on Wayland.
Problems that didn't exist on X11.
And because we have different design principles on Wayland. The reason why these are problems on Wayland and not X11 is because now we have a position to fix some of the problems. We now have a position where you actually can build a permission system that only allows videos to be captured if you explicitly say, allow video to be captured. We're in a position where you can say, only allow the keyboard to be captured if I want the keyboard to be captured. These are things that you could not have solved on X11 without completely redesigning the protocol, which is what Wayland is. The only issue is that we're in this transitionary period where the solution's not fully implemented, so it's inconvenient to the user because it's not done, basically. That's pretty much where it's at. This is the same argument as Linux sucks because it's not a one-to-one recreation of Windows. Basically, yeah. Things on Wayland are different. Are they different good? Are they different bad? That's another discussion entirely, but it is different. Flatpaks and are basically just going to be a requirement going forward, and every distro that you actually want to use just installs them.
And that's the point. This is a problem. Modern operating systems are so complicated because they have layers of abstractions on top of abstractions on top of abstractions that make it very difficult to do tasks that should be simple. And to deal with this problem, people just build another layer of abstractions on top to try to fix it, and it just keeps going and going and going. It shouldn't be this way, and it doesn't have to be.
Yes, but if you're just the user who installs a dist... I will agree with that point, that as a developer, it is really annoying to have these layers upon layers of abstraction. Totally fair. But as a user, if the system that you're using just pre-installs them for you and just you don't ever need to think about what's going on, I don't really think that's as good of a point as he thinks it is. From the dev side, right, like, it is really annoying that if you want to, like, take, for example, like, just a Flatpak, right? The fact that we abstract away from the core system utilities, put it in a container, and then the container has dependencies, like, that's annoying to work around, for sure, without a doubt. but it also comes with these benefits of providing you with a sort of a simpler base to work with. Although, if you want to dig deeper into it, there's a larger like stack to dig into. It's like web development, right? Where the web is layers upon layers upon layers of abstraction, and if you want to know how it all fits together, it's a fucking disaster, without a doubt. But if your goal is to just build something on top of the abstractions do make it easier. It's just a development hell, basically. Wayland breaks screen recording. This is not true and hasn't been true for years. Now, there are certain applications that don't support the solution, that being Pipewire and Portals, and he even acknowledges Pipewire and Portals. This is known to be a Red Hat / Flatpak-centric, GNOME-centric, perhaps works with other desktops. No, it works with every desktop, because Portals are a requirement for Wayland nowadays.
So, does screen recording work on Wayland? Let's see.
Yes, it does work.
I don't know. Doesn't look like it works to me.
That looks like a bug. Please report it to the Plasma developers. Like, that's not a point. You're not making a good point here. The point you're making is you ran into a bug where it doesn't work. There are other people that are using Plasma and screen recording's working properly. There are people using GNOME where it's working properly. I'm using Hyperland literally at this very moment. It's working properly. If there is a bug like this, tell the devs, because this is not working like it should be.
Look, Brodie, I appreciate you trying to call out people spreading false information in the community, but if you're going to do that, at the very least, the bare minimum that you should do before doing so is checking that the information they're spreading is actually false.
Do we have any KDE users in chat? Do I need to DM Nate and just ask him if screen capture works on KDE? Because it does work on KDE. You just ran into a bug on your system. That doesn't prove your point. You ran into a bug. Oh my god. I have a bunch of KDE devs on speed dial. I can send Nate and David Evanson a message about it, but like, yes, it works. Yes, it works.
Don't you think so? Now, I will admit, I have an Nvidia GPU, which isn't ideal since the proprietary Nvidia drivers don't support.
It very well could have been Nvidia. I doubt it's Nvidia driver issue in this case, but it could have been Nvidia driver issue. But regardless, KDE supports screen capture. And you can tell that it supports screen capture because it was showing the screen capture elements there. It just wasn't showing it properly. That was a bug.
Very well. But it's a GTX 1060. It's not...
Okay. Yeah, if you're on a GTX 1060, you're gonna be running into some problems. Yeah, I'll give you that one. Yeah, that's like, what is that, like a 10-year-old GPU at this point? When did the 1060 come out? GTX, or it's 7 years. 1060 release date. 2016. Yeah, that's a 7-year-old GPU at this point. Yeah, Wayland on Nvidia is very much focused around 20 series and newer. Anything older than that, and you're like... and even then, like 30 series is where it's really starting to get actually good. If you're going anything much older than that, like, it's rough. Yes, screen sharing works on Wayland on KDE. I use KDE in Wayland. It also works in Nvidia, so clearly it's a bug for him. Yeah. It's obviously a bug.
Some fancy cutting-edge RTX 4000 Titan Super TI card.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a real name.
It's a card from like 5 years ago. It should work fine at this point. And as a side
That's actually the opposite, right? It should, like, you would like it to work fine, but with Wayland, Nvidia is very, very heavily focusing on their newer cards. So, a lot of the fixes aren't really propagating backwards in their stack, because they've sort of just abandoned them for the most part.
But I don't know why people keep recommending the 545 driver. It's clearly marked as a beta. Telling users to use beta software to fix their issues is just ridiculous.
Where was the bit where he said, do my research? Where was that bit? Where was that bit?
Clearly the more productive solution.
Wait, where is the, where did he say to do my research? Where is it? Here it is.
At least, the bare minimum that you should do before doing so is checking that the information they're spreading is actually false.
Where was it? Where was it? Here?
It's clearly marked as a beta.
Is it? It doesn't look like it's marked as a beta, actually. It looks like this version's marked as a beta, but this version's not. Oh, that's fun. I love when people, like, call other people out and then just do the exact same thing, like, 3 seconds later.
Telling users to use beta software to fix their issues is just ridiculous. I mean, you saw the issues that I have with my Plasma 5 setup. Should I switch to Plasma 6 Alpha? No, no one would seriously suggest that. And yet for drivers...
Plasma 6, from my understanding, is getting a lot better on Wayland. Plasma 5 was... What, it was released like 10 years ago. It was not designed around Wayland support. I just sent you a video of KDE 5.27 Wayland NVIDIA doing screen capture. Okay, let's have a look. Are there any DMs I don't want to leak here? No? Okay, cool, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Let's have a look. Oh, you're on Nabarro as well. Well, it died when you selected that, but... But besides that part... Yeah, it looks like it works. Don't change what it's capturing or it will die, but otherwise it'll be fine.
For some reason, that's the accepted advice, with people like Nick actually bashing Zorin OS for shipping the stable 535 driver.
You are also stuck at the Nvidia drivers 535, so not 545, the latest ones that fix a lot of Wayland-related issues. And same for Nvidia. If you actually want to use Nvidia on Wayland, Zorin OS is not suitable because it doesn't have access to the versions of the drivers that actually fix the related issues.
I'm hearing a lot of mixed opinions about 545. Some people are saying these are the greatest the greatest drivers ever created, and they're solving every single problem. Other people are saying that they basically don't work. So it's kind of... It's unclear to me what the case is. I don't have an NVIDIA card to really, like, comment on it. It seems like if you're on, like, a 30 or a 40 series card, 545 does a great job. 545 has fixed pretty much all my Wayland issues. What are you running? What generation card are you running? Because I know you bought a new AMD card and then sold it, but what NVIDIA card do you have? 3060? Okay, that seems to line up with what I'm hearing. A lot of people are saying 30 and 40 series 545 fixes a lot of things, but if you're a bit older, it's actually making things worse. So, yeah, like, this is the thing, right? Wayland... here's where here's what I'll say about Wayland NVIDIA. If we make 3060 good, if we make the 30 series good, right? Right now, the people who are running old cards are running, you know, like 660s, 1060, maybe like a 760, whatever. Is that like 8, whatever. Eventually, the 30 series is going to be, you know, 10, 15 years old. And eventually, the people running old cards will be running the 30 series. So if the 30 series gets good now, in 5, 10 years when those cards are really old... then the people running the old cards will have a good experience, and the people running the new cards will also have a good experience. Hopefully, that's the way it goes. I have my doubts, but maybe they'll just get worse over time. Thank you for the follow, Donuts. Appreciate it.
Okay, bashing might be a strong word, but I don't think it's a fair criticism. 535 is the latest stable driver.
He keeps saying this. It doesn't read the page. It is the latest new feature branch version is 5.45. There is also a beta 5.45, but this, the part here, is not beta. It is not the production version yet. It is the new feature branch, but it is not the beta version. That is this version. If you're running 5.45.29, not beta.
That's the driver that Nvidia suggests that people use.
How do you show this picture 2 times and not read the picture either time? So, minimum, he would have had to look at this picture 3 times. When he took the screenshot, when he added it the first time, when he added it the second time. Somehow, he didn't read that 5.45 isn't beta.
Now, back to Nick's video about the blog post.
The apt comparison used in Nate's blog post is Linux breaks Photoshop, which obviously no one thinks like that. We all know it's a problem of Adobe not porting Photoshop to Linux. Same goes for
Good
Wayland.
point, Nick.
Developers
Appreciate
need to
you.
port
Agree
their
with you.
apps. Wayland is not a drop-in replacement for X11, and
True,
it was
Nick.
never intended to be.
Very true.
I take issue with this comparison to Photoshop. Nate Graham uses this example that if someone says, Linux breaks Photoshop, so you should keep using Windows, the response would be, well, wait a minute, the problem is that Photoshop doesn't support Linux.
True.
But I don't think that's a fair comparison. Apps had certain functionality that you could rely on to work on X11, and now suddenly that functionality just doesn't work anymore. This isn't a matter of...
Apps had certain functionality that you could expect to work on Windows, and then suddenly you switch to Linux and they don't have that functionality anymore. The comparison's actually like 1-to-1 the same thing.
Of it never being supported. It's a matter of it being supported on one platform and then the system switching to another platform where it isn't.
Yes, you're switching your system from one platform that does support it to one platform that doesn't. It's actually like the exact same metaphor. The only difference here is that in one case, you're doing the switching. In the other case, your distro's doing the switching. It is a really, really good metaphor.
Now, of course, it's up to the apps to update.
True.
But that doesn't change the fact that for the user, that's a regression. They used to have
The only distro that isn't shipping Wayland and X11 like alongside each other is Fedora. So stop using Fedora.
a feature, and now that feature no longer works. Or the app used to work, and then it just doesn't work at all on the new platform. I'm well aware that...
Yes, like the Photoshop case. I don't know why so many people struggle to understand this metaphor. Like, I saw so many of my comments where people just were like, that doesn't make any sense. And, this is the exact same thing. Like, I don't get it. It's a really simple metaphor. I think the only reason people don't get it is they don't want to get it. Because if they get it, then that means the whole Wayland breaks everything argument just crumbles. Because you accept that we're in a transitionary period where things are being ported over, things are being developed, not that Wayland is inherently bad design.
Wayland isn't a drop-in replacement for X11. And Nate Graham actually goes over this in his blog post, that it's not a drop-in replacement any more than Linux is designed as a drop-in replacement for Windows.
Correct.
The problem is that when you frame it this way, Wayland is an entirely new platform. And when you think of it that way, as opposed to just some under-the-hood upgrade like Pipewire, that was very successful, by the way.
It was.
It becomes a problem of actually getting apps to update to the new system, and to develop all this infrastructure that surrounds it.
Yeah, almost like it's difficult to get apps to support Linux that were developed on Windows. It's almost like this is still a perfect metaphor.
And until that happens, it's just a worse experience.
Yes, it's a transitionary period. Correct. Like, the thing is, he's not actually disagreeing with Nick. That's the wildest thing here. He agrees with Nick. The only difference is Nick is hopeful, and this guy is, he's very skeptical of Wayland as a platform.
Quote, expectations need to be adjusted to reflect the fact that some changes might be required
And Nate as well
from
as
one
hopeful.
to the other. Yeah, I think users can generally expect their apps to work. When it works on their system before...
Almost every app works. There are very few exceptions. Very, very few exceptions. Those usually come down to things that are very tied to X11 functionality, like Xrandr, things like that. It's people that rely on things like X11 forwarding, which you can still do with Wayland if you need to do, so that's not actually broken at all. It just doesn't work with the native Wayland protocols. And screen recording apps that haven't updated and when it comes to things like Redshift, most desktops have a Redshift equivalent. WL Roots has a Redshift thing. Someone complained to me that the KDE Redshift isn't good enough because it doesn't support the a orange enough range, in which case that's a bug. Comment to the developers. But every single case that I've seen, it's either the information is out of date, or this is something actively being worked on, or it already has a replacement, and the replacement is just not something that people want to see.
An update, and after an update it stops working. That's a very basic...
Every distro except Fedora is going to keep shipping X11 and Wayland. So it doesn't just break after an update, at least not right now. You can make the argument in a couple of years when distros do stop shipping it, but right now, they're still shipping it.
Basic expectation that is not being met. And this bothers me because I don't think this is helpful for the Linux community. I'm sure you've seen this clip of Linus complaining about how user space keeps breaking their APIs.
So
no, that's not what that said, actually. That's actually not even remotely what Linus said.
Every other day, some ABI breaks, right? So you actually want to just compile one binary and have it work. Preferably forever, and preferably across all the Linux distributions. And I actually think distributions have done a horribly, horribly bad job.
While on the kernel, the golden rule...
That is a real... That quote is taken way out of context.
Work. Preferably forever, and preferably across all the Linux distributions.
What he's talking about here is that application dependencies change. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the fact that distros ship different dependencies, distros ship different dependency versions. When dependency versions, misalign with each other, it causes applications to stop working. This is why we're doing things like Flatpak now, because that eliminates that problem. You separate the packaging from what the distro is doing, because the distros honestly cannot be trusted for the most part, and most developers, I can't speak for all of them, but I know a lot of developers just don't want to deal with it, and that's why they're shipping snaps as their main source, and Flatpaks as their main source, and app images as their main source, to not deal with distros just breaking their stuff.
And I actually think distributions have done a horribly, horribly bad job.
While on the kernel, the golden rule is that you don't break user space.
We have one rule in the kernel. There is one rule. We don't break user space. Everything else is kind of a guideline. The whole security thing, it's a guideline that we shouldn't do stupid shit, right? But that's not a hard rule. People do stupid shit all the time. I don't get that upset. People break user space. I get really, really angry.
I think Wayland is...
That is also a very, once again, taken way out of context quote. That is specifically talking about the kernel and only the kernel. It does not relate to the user space itself. And Linus isn't... He's clarified what he said here. He doesn't mean don't break user space as in don't change anything. What he means is don't break things in a way that is noticeable to the user. Don't break things that people are actually using. So if you're going to deprecate a driver, for example, it should be a driver that nobody uses. It should be some legacy nonsense, 30-year-old hardware. Maybe some dude in their basement uses it, but they're not running a modern kernel on it. Let's see where he goes with this, though.
Is just another example of user space developers just not caring enough about...
Yeah, okay. It is talking about that. Okay, this is... No, that's not what the quote's about.
Compatibility with existing software. That's not to say that we don't eventually want all the software that works right now on X11 to be updated to work on Wayland. But if you want to make the switch before that happens, you have to acknowledge that a lot of software will just not be usable for a while.
Yes. Yes, we're in a transitionary period. Very true. Yes. There are some things that are broken, but the problem I have with Propono's argument is a lot of it is based on, once again, outdated information and then not liking the solutions. The solution to video capture is pipewire and portals. The solution to global hotkeys is pipewire and portals. The solution to so many things is pipewire and portals. And the problem is that he just doesn't like the solution that's being offered. Not that there isn't a solution in the first place.
A while. Is that really what users want?
No, and that's why they should stop using Fedora if they don't like it. You should vote with your... You can't really vote... I guess you can vote with your wallet. If you don't like that a distro is stopping shipping X11, don't use it. Go and donate to a distro that is supporting it. Simple as that. Because distros are going to start going this direction. Because this is... Like, Fedora's always been this distro that does things a little too soon. Whether it be Systemd, whether it be Pulse Audio, whether it be all of these other things, they've always done things early. So, don't use it if you don't like it. Like, that simple as that.
I'm not so sure.
They update glibc and everything breaks. Hey, you can recompile everything, right? That really seems to be the mindset quite often. It's like...
In particular, people like Brodie.
He's still taking the quote out of context. Once again, this is talking about application packaging, and the solution that is Flatpaks, the solution that is app images, the solution that is snaps. Use Fedora XFC and send them to keep the XFC for longer. Yeah, or use that. That's fine.
Exhibit A.
It is up to the applications to update to support this solution. True.
And Exhibit B.
Now, obviously, all of this work from the app image...
You literally said that you want applications to support Wayland at some point. You don't Why do some people struggle so much to understand they don't disagree with me? They are literally saying my point, and then they're like, no, you're wrong. Is this, is there a language barrier here with being an Australian? Do people just not understand, like, my inherent sarcasm to the way I speak? And there just being a level of irony to things I say? Is there a language barrier? There might be a language barrier here. I don't know.
Dev is looking at things from the wrong end of the telescope. They're thinking in terms of Wayland breaks everything instead of realizing that it is apps that need to support the new Wayland protocol.
Very true.
Now, in this clip, Linus is complaining about software having to be recompiled for a new glibc version.
Yes.
And he says that that's a problem for the Linux desktop. But what about Wayland? Well...
Yeah, it is a problem. And that's why we're doing Flatpaks now. And that's why we're doing snaps now. I don't like snaps, but that's why we're doing Flatpaks now. That's why we're doing things like immutable distros. That's why we're doing app images. That's why we're doing that. Yes.
On Wayland, it's not just recompiling for something new. It's a complete rewrite of the application.
True,
now,
yes.
There was a post a while ago about how the way that Wayland does certain kind of graphics rendering is incompatible with the way that certain game engines work.
A while ago means 2 years ago, by the way. 2 years ago. Keep this in mind, because you'll see who the comment is from, and I'll just let you see it. I did watch this part earlier.
Is incompatible with the way that certain game engines work. And if I remember correctly, the response was basically something along the lines of, just rewrite them to...
This is from Simon Sir. So, keep in mind, this is 3 years ago. This is a different thing, by the way. This is 3 years ago. Simon Sir, for anyone who doesn't know, Simon Sir is the developer of WL Roots. Now, do you know what WL Roots supports nowadays? Because Simon Sir realized he was fucking stupid. Give it a second to load. When it decides it wants to. Why is the GitLab, the free desktop GitLab so slow? GitLab is probably the most important package outside the kernel. So, this was implemented... Oh god, this is... Okay, the page is horribly slow. Are they having some issues here? So this was actually implemented by Vaxry, which is funny as well. Oh my god. Okay, can we see this on another? Here we go. Where the fuck is it? Can I even see it? Actually, that was a separate issue anyway. Their GitLab is dead right now. The point I'm getting at when it decides that's the old one when it still wasn't accepted. There is a new one. Okay. Wrong page. There is a new one where it is accepted. I don't know where it is because their GitLab's dead right now, but Simon has changed his opinion on this, and he might still have this opinion himself, but he doesn't have this opinion in the project.
Work that way, because that's the correct way that it should be done. Okay, so you're saying that in order for a game to work on Wayland, let's just take some random engine, I don't know, Unreal Engine. You're saying that Unreal Engine would have to be rewritten to use that specific way of rendering.
No, he's saying that he thinks the Wayland way of doing it is right, and the other way is doing it wrong. But he's not saying to make a game work. This is entirely about screen tearing, not about making a game work. The games work just fine on Wayland, and there is like this wine solution being worked on to have games work natively on Wayland. That is completely separate from the pairing stuff. Entirely separate. Not even at all relevant.
Rendering. And then game developers would need to take their games and port it to the new version of the engine. Which, by the way, is not a simple recompile. Right?
No one's saying that at all.
It's going to have a whole bunch of new features and things are
Doesn't X-Wayland fix most compatibility issues anyway? Well, if you're gaming on Wayland, you're gaming through X-Wayland. You don't game natively on Wayland because none of the games are Wayland native yet. Because if you're gaming through Proton doesn't support Wayland. It's done through X-Wayland. That's still a work in progress. It's like a 20 series patch set.
Going to be changed.
Or 20-part patch set.
Things are going to be working differently, and that's going to be a very big project. And that's going to happen for every single game that exists on that engine.
No.
And then it's going to have to be distributed by them.
No.
That's just not going to happen.
That's because that's not what's being said. At all. It's literally not always being said at all. Let's just go back to the screenshot he had. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the screenshot? Where's the screenshot? No? Did I miss it? Where's the Simon Sir post? No? Where's Simon Sir? Simon, where you at? How did where did it go? How have I lost this? How did he show it on the screen for like 1 second? Wait, where the hell did it go?
In particular, people...
Let's go back through this at double speed. Okay, it was definitely after that. Okay, where'd it go? Where'd it go? I actually want to read this Simon Sir post. Because I feel like he didn't understand it properly. Okay, we're getting close. Also, Sebastian Wick here. Where's Sebastian Wick? Is Sebastian Wick? Wayland. He is from Core Wayland. Just a heads up. Yeah, here we go. So, okay. No, that one. I'm not convinced it's a good idea. Wayland is designed to be frame perfect, not have bad intermediary frames, and this protocol breaks this. A good presentation time protocol would have more benefits. It won't break... I assume he's not trying to show Zamunda's, or Xavier's post here, because otherwise it should be in the middle. It won't break the principles every frame is perfect for any of my games. Any sane non-game application will never consider any immediate presentation mode, and most compositors will... No, okay. Xavier was in support of it at the time. So it's reading this post, but it's also not even like... It's massively extrapolating out what's being said to something that's not being said at all.
Hitting recompile, which Linus himself said...
Wait, hear it.
And then it's going to have to be distributed by them.
Okay, back to the part where he didn't read what was being said.
That's just not going to happen. it's not as simple as just hitting recompile, which Linus himself says even that much is already a problem.
But that's also not what anyone was saying, so it's not even
And
relevant.
now you're saying that, okay, instead of that, it has to be like 100 times more work.
No, no one said that at all. Literally no one.
How is that acceptable?
No one said it. That's
just
why
isn't.
it's... Yeah,
But it's really
no one
sad
said
when
it.
the most core library in the whole system is okay with breaking stuff. And as long as things improve and they fix the ABI.
Even though Wayland certainly
Yes, this is talking about glibc. This is a little bit different to Wayland. When glibc breaks, you don't have an alternative. When Wayland breaks, it's not that big of a deal. You can try another Wayland compositor. You can go back to X11. When glibc breaks, you don't have a working system.
has technical advantages. For the average user, it seems like many people are just willing to ignore the problems that exist on Wayland right now. Mm-hmm. Now, to be clear, I don't...
Yeah, because most of the problems don't exist. Most of the problems aren't actually problems. They're just things that people have said like 3 years ago. You know how you update glibc on LFS? You rebuild the entirety of LFS. Fuck that.
hate Wayland. I think it is the future of the graphical desktop on Linux.
True.
Many people have contributed a lot of work to get Wayland to where it is today.
Look at how many times
And I
Summon
don't have
Surge
any
shows
issues
up.
with the people involved in this situation either, whether that's Nate Graham, Brodie Robertson, Nick from the Linux Experiment, or really anyone else in this debate. I filed my fair share of bugs on the KDE tracker, and
Wait, then why did you... I hope you filed a bug about that screen capture issue though.
Nate Graham has been probably the single person who has responded to them the most, helping to triage
Nate's
the bugs,
wild.
reproduce the issues, and just helping out. I really appreciate the work that he's done for KDE, and I have nothing but respect for the guy. YouTubers, on the other hand,
Speaking of YouTubers,
what I take issue with is the way that some people within the Linux community seem to turn a blind eye to the very real issues present on Wayland right now. A few months ago,
I am the most critical. I am the most critical Wayland enjoyer. I have like a 3-part video series yelling about multi-window apps. I have like 4 videos yelling about global hotkeys. I have videos talking about portals. I am the most critical Wayland user you will ever see. I have called out some of the dumb things that have been done over and over and over again. I have a playlist of it if you want to go check it out.
I made a video about how 2024 will be the year of Wayland on the Linux desktop. In that video, the reasoning for why Wayland would take over was never due to its user experience, but that it had gained enough traction that major distros were, and still are, planning to switch to it by default. And further than...
Right now, only Fedora is doing that. I believe Ubuntu... Has Ubuntu discussed it? I don't think Ubuntu's discussed it. Maybe privately. Honestly, Wayland works almost perfectly for me. I've only had 2 major problems. My only problem right now is there is a slight capture issue that might crash my desktop. It's like a weird esoteric setup issue, though, that Vax3 is helping me go through. But yeah, that's my only problem right now.
that, some of them are ditching X11 entirely. What I want to avoid is a situation like Ubuntu 17.0, where they shipped Wayland as the default, and it had so many issues that users just...
Yeah, it was not ready in 2017. Keep in mind, this is before, like, video capture portals. This is before... This is before most of the fixes. This was before NVIDIA even been remotely, like, functional. I believe that was before NVIDIA GPU acceleration in X Wayland. I want to say it was before that. Yeah, it was a while ago.
had a
Also, that would have been... Was that still GNOME 3? Wait. Ubuntu 17.10. I want to say that's still GNOME 3. Yeah, that was when they went back to GNOME. Oh, shit. Yeah, it definitely would have been then. Yeah, it wasn't ready then. It was not ready then. Definitely not.
Poorer experience than if they had shipped X11. And because of that, they had to revert to X11 for the next Ubuntu 18.04
Yes, because they were
release.
stupid about that release.
While Wayland has certainly made tremendous progress since 2017,
COVID is the biggest boon that has ever happened to Wayland. So much stuff got fixed over COVID.
I still don't believe that it's ready for the average user. I want Wayland and the broader idea of Linux on the desktop to succeed, and pushing this on users before it's ready will only harm this community's reputation.
Stop using Fedora. I think you shouldn't be pushing new users to ever use Fedora. Fedora is not a new user distro. Fedora is for advanced users who are willing to have things break. There was this meme a couple of years ago where a bunch of Linux YouTubers started saying Fedora is the new Ubuntu. You know, all these new users start recommending Fedora to them. Don't. That's a terrible idea. Fedora has always been the distro that does things first and breaks a lot of things along the way.
Let's use an analogy.
Okay.
Suppose someone recommends that a beginner Linux user installs Arch.
Sure.
They say something like, oh, it's super easy, only an idiot would break their system.
That person recommending it is a bit of an idiot.
And then inevitably the newbie does something wrong and breaks their system.
Sure.
Since they're told that Arch is super easy to use, they get the impression that all desktop distributions require the same level of technical expertise as Arch.
Sure.
And because of that, they just go back to Windows, or go back to macOS, or go back to whatever, and they stop using Linux. We've just lost a user that otherwise would have had a much better experience with the distro that works better out of the box.
Their friend's a fucking idiot, though. To be fair, their friend's a fucking idiot if you recommend a new user goes and uses Arch. But I wouldn't, how would I say it? I don't think that Wayland in its current state is at all equivalent to what using Arch is. I think there are a couple of rough edges, for sure. But if you go and use something like Kubuntu, if you go and use something like Nabara, that's a very different experience than, hey, here's an Arch ISO, good luck.
And as a community, we don't do this anymore. This kind of elitist attitude about distributions is now frowned upon. Right? We acknowledge the fact that some distributions are better suited for beginners than others.
Very true.
And that, even in general, Linux on the desktop isn't ideal for everyone in every use case.
For sure.
There are some use cases that require additional effort on Linux that just isn't required on other operating systems.
Yeah, audio production, actual, like, good image production where you care about, like, color space stuff. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Misleading potential users about what they can expect after switching is just not helpful for anyone. And we've become a better community for it.
Right, and that's what I disagree with about Pro Bono Stance, because that's what his entire blog post is. It is misleading users about what Wayland is. Misleading users into thinking that this is, like, 20 years away from ready, that everything's going to be broken. I don't think you should mislead users about that, because they're going to see, oh, this distro only has Wayland available. Well, everything's going to be broken. Why would I even bother trying it?
We have more users that are happier with their experience. So what does this have to do with Wayland? Well, it seems to me that many of the, and I hate to use this term, Linux influencers, unfortunately have this same mentality when it comes to Wayland versus X11.
Mm-hmm.
We need to acknowledge the fact that Wayland still has a way to go before it gets to full feature parity with it.
Just give me a second. Brodie, Robertson, Wayland. There is this one. I'll give you that one. Headless Wayland got a lot easier. Wayland for users, Linux users. Okay. The uncomfortable truth of Wayland adoption, which is basically about X11 desktops not coming along. Actually, no, that was another one. This application just dropped Wayland support. I know there's more of them. Wayland breaks multi-window apps for now. Red Hat is about to end Xorg. This is also about Nvidia just being a giant disaster. Multi-window apps. This is very, very experimental support on OpenBSD. This is about a compositor library that makes things easier to build. This is about Xmonad really not being ready to do things. This is about Wayland not being ready. This is about screen tearing being ready, except on GNOME, because GNOME is a mess. What else do we have? I know there's more of them. That was different. Yep, this is about compositors being broken. This is about multi-window apps being a disaster. This is about OBS... what do you call it? Browser embeds being broken. This is about screensavers being broken. This is about... Actually, screen lockers are better on Wayland, for the most part, except if you want to do something different. This is about a solution to a Wayland network transparency issue. What's this one? I don't remember. What was this one? Brodie, what are you talking about here? Oh, this was... I think this was about David Evanson fixing a massive issue. This is about Wayland not being ready. This is about XSC being in the progress of fixing things. This is about a really good compositor. Back when it was not as good as it is now, but it can be good. This is about OBS starting to support Wayland. This is about a really cool compositor. This is about X-Wayland Rootful getting better. This is about how to go from i3 to Sway, which is basically like a 1-to-1. What else do we have? I'm sure there are others in here. This is about Fedora being way too quick about killing off Xorg. This is about what do you call it? Like clearing up misinformation about Wayland being made for GNOME. This is about how users don't actually care about Xorg versus Wayland. Like, it's so funny that people bring me up in this discussion about, like, shilling Wayland. I know I call myself a Wayland shill, but, like, I am the most critical of Wayland, but I'm also the most hopeful.
X11. When it comes to desktop environments and distributions and all the apps that people have come to rely on supporting it. So let's take a step back and consider whether pushing Wayland is the right approach. And if it is, to be honest about its shortcomings.
Very true.
That's gonna be it for me. X11 shill, out.
Okay, you know I like you, dude. Appreciate it. You know, yeah, you know what? Have fun.
It's my real machine.
You know, you're a fucking legend. I'll take that. Appreciate the outro, man. You know, that was overall. I disagree with a lot of points he has. I really do. I think the issue he has is he's not understanding a lot of the points. And when Nate is saying that people are framing the problem wrong, he's not saying that everything is perfect now. He's saying that if you're going to complain about there being problems, complain to the correct person. Don't complain that Wayland breaks everything. Go to the projects that can fix the problem. Go to your favorite screen capture tool. Go to your favorite multi-window app. Get them involved in the Wayland discussion. Just saying Wayland breaks everything doesn't solve the problem. You have to find the people who can actually fix the problem and help them or encourage them to fix the problem. But yeah, that was like a 45-minute react to that.